Hello, and my name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK, and I am delighted to be joining in with this Stamp Around UK YouTube hop. And this is the first time that I've joined with the Stamp Around UK team, so it is fantastic for me to be here. Let me just quickly pull up this is me, where you'll find all things that I do in my little Stamping Up business. So it's Love-a-Duckie, and that's the name you look for wherever you're looking for me on social media or wherever. And my website is loveaduckie.co.uk, and over there you'll find links for all sorts of things, for classes, downloads, inspiration, all of that stuff you'll find on my website. So do go and have a little look, and do remember to subscribe, like, follow all of these videos, and join with me in hopping round and seeing not just what I've been creating this month, but also what everybody else in the team that are part of this blog hop have been creating this month. And you'll find the links for all of their projects down below. So whether you're coming to me, you found me from somewhere exciting, do go on and hop round all of the others. And if you are coming to me from somebody else in the hop, then welcome. I hope you're enjoying the hop. So the theme this month is black and gold. So let me bring down my downward facing camera, and let's have a little look at the project that we're going to be creating today. Now, black and gold, so I had a bit of a think about this, and it reminded me that a lot of my ladies and gentlemen that come along to my classes, they do like every now and then to revisit the black ice technique, and I thought that would be a perfect technique to have a bit of a play with today. So that's what we're going to do, and here's a card I made earlier, and we'll be reproducing this in a minute, and I'll show you how I went about creating it. So we're going to be using the Stippled Roses stamp set, which is in the annual catalogue. It's a carryover project, but it's still very much there. It does have dies and things that coordinate with it, but we're not going to be using those today. Just this lovely big stamped image. I wanted a nice big stamp image, and this one fitted the bill beautifully. So let's see how we're going to go about creating our black ice technique card. Let me pop that one to one side. I've got some little bits I've already cut out, and we're going to start actually with this piece of gold foil. So let me just move my other pieces to one side and hopefully not lose them. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has borrowers visit mid-video and take things away, hide them when you're not looking. What we're going to do is we're going to gut this piece of foil. I don't know about you, but I never like to leave foil wasted sitting behind mats where we can't see it. So we're actually going to gut this piece of foil. So I'm going to start off, I'm resting the edge of this foil up against the 1 centimetre mark on this side just here, and I'm going to tuck my score blade out the way and bring in my cutting blade. Now with your cutting blade, you've got the little mark right in the center of the blade. I don't know how well you're going to pick that up, but you've got the little mark that shows you where the blade actually will cut into your cardstock. And I have found over time that from that little mark just there to the edge of your score blade, whether you're going that way or whether you're going that way, is approximately 1 centimetre. So if I rest the edge of the score blade against the top of my trimmer just there, then bring it down so that the edge of my cutting blade, not my scoring blade, my cutting blade is on the edge of the card just there, and then move it round, rest it back up against 1 centimetre, and then come back up to the top, down to the bottom, so that that edge of that score cutting blade is always, in fact we can go the other way, let's go, so the edge is at the bottom and go up so it's at the top, and keep coming round just like that, and then hopefully, voila, that centerpiece will pop out and we'll be left with a nice gold frame. So we've got a gold frame and we've got a nice square of gold card just there. So let me just pop that to one side for now. And then I'm just going to check that this is hopefully around about 10 centimeters square, maybe a little tiny bit out. So just check and trim that off anywhere that it's not quite 10 centimeters, but that's looking pretty good. So now this is going to be our center piece on our card, and I'm going to take a Stays On ink pad. Now this Stays On ink pad is not too juicy. I've not recently re-inked this, so it is a fairly dry Stays On pad, and normally you'd be saying, oh no, must re-ink that, but not on this occasion because we would like it to be relatively dry for this technique, because what we're going to do is we're going to drag it down our piece of card and we want to give it a distressed look. We don't want great big black smears, we just want to give it a slightly distressed look. So the idea is to go in quite gently and just gradually build it up. If you feel you need to press a bit firmer as you go along, then press a bit firmer, but don't go in too hard to start with. So I'm just going to bring this down the front of this gold foil. Now on this edge here, it's picking up the black ink quite nicely. And I would like to have a bit of a sense of streaks coming down it as well. So I'm going to press a little bit harder on this one. And as I say, it will depend really on how inky your Stays On is as to how hard you're going to need to press. But just play it by ear. You can always go in and give it a bit more. What you can't do is go along and take it off. I think this is not far off where we want it. So hopefully you can see on there that we've got some black inking on the edges and then just this sort of slight sort of smearing sort of black in the center, which just gives it that sort of slightly distressed look for our gold foil. Now, if I only had one Stays On pad, at this point, I might come in and re-ink it because I now want to stamp with it. And obviously to stamp with it, I need it not to be too dry. I need it to be able to ink up my stamp quite nicely. So I've got this nice big rose image from the Stippled Roses set. This is a different Stays On pad that I've got here, and this one I have quite recently re-inked. So hopefully we're going to get a nice all over ink. Now the thing about Stays On is because it does dry quite quickly. This is quite a big image, so we need to work fairly quickly. Put that on there, and I'm going to make sure that I've given it quite a firm press down all over. Perfect. So you can see that we've got that nice foil. Is not the best thing to have on camera, is it? But we've got that nice stamped image there all over our gold foil, and that sort of slight streaking and things in the background. I'm going to take my heat tool. You don't normally worry about drying Stays On particularly, but we are on foil. I am just going to give it a quick blast just with my heat tool on the #1 setting, so I'm not going in too hot. Just want to make sure that that has dried off, because I don't want it smudging. When we come in now with a Versamark, now we're going to do very similar to we did with the black Stays On with the Versamark, and we're going to drag it down the front of the card. And again, we don't want to be too hard. What we don't want is a complete thick covering of Versamark. We would like it to be a little bit sort of streaky almost rather than solid. So we're not going to press very hard. I'm just going to drag that down the front of this card. Right, if we need to go in and do it again, we will be able to, but for now, I'm going to pop that in my tray. And here I have got my brand new Wow clear gloss embossing powder. And I'm going to sprinkle that all over the top. So we don't worry about there being too much in there because we're going to come in and I'm going to pop all the excess back in our pot in a minute. Let me just pick this up. Let's just give it a good flick. You can see hopefully that you've got sort of streaks. That's a bit better. Sort of streaks, and it's not a clear all over covering. It's sort of a little bit bitty, and that's what we want it to be like. We want it to be a little bit bitty. Let's bring in our brush. Can I see my Stampin' Up brush? No, I can't. I'm just going to bring in another brush for now. I have a few brushes in my pot. So we do get a lovely brush with this embossing set with the tray and the embossing buddies and all of those sorts of things. I didn't use my embossing buddy on my foil because I wanted it to be sort of slightly hit and miss and hitting in some places and not others. I wasn't looking for a good solid all over image. Let's just put the majority of that back in there. I can finish off with any more later. Let me put my lid on so that we don't lose that. Let's bring this back in, and I'm going to bring back in my heat tool, but this time I'm going to bring it onto full heat, and we'll heat up our embossing powder. Now the foil is bending a little in the heat, but that's okay. Okay, turn that off. So hopefully you're going to be able to pick up. You see how that looks sort of almost like droplets and sort of frost, a bit like your frosty windscreens on a cold winter morning. So you've got that great texture detail on the front, on the top of that foil. And that is what the black ice technique is all about. So let's build this up into a card. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to take some Tombow, and I'm going to pop some of this multi-purpose adhesive on the back of this mat. So this was a 12, no it wasn't, it was a 10 centimetre square piece of gold foil. So if you are joining us from somewhere that is Imperial Land, then that will be 4 inches. And I've matted that onto a 10.5 centimetre square piece of black card, and that would be 4¼ inches if you were in Imperial Land. And you can see I've taken my big block because that foil was a little bit bendy. Made sure I put plenty of adhesive on the back, and I've used that block to press it all down so that we've now got a nice flat image with all that sort of nice frostiness on it. And make myself a card base, and I want a 12.5 centimetre square card base, which will be the equivalent of about a 5-inch card base if you are in Imperial Land. So I'm going to take this to 12.5 centimetres with the thinner piece across the top of my trimmer. I'm going to cut myself a strip all the way down, and then, if my maths serves me right, 12.5 plus 12.5 is 25 centimetres. So let's cut that way. So if you're doing this in Imperial, you want a 5-inch square, so of course you want it 10 inches by 5 inches, scored at 5 inches, but this is 25 centimetres by 12.5, scored at 12.5. And hopefully, with a good following wind, we will have created ourselves a 12.5 centimetre square black card base. So your gold foil that we started with a piece that was 12 centimetres, and you'd want that to be 4¾ inches if you were doing it in Imperial. And our and then you'd take you take 1/2 inch off all the way round rather than 1 centimetre. To give you a bit of gold foil in the middle. And we are going to layer that up like that. So let's stick those in place. To stick my foil in place first. Like that. Now you could have this going straight on if you want to. You can add a little bit of a wiggle to it, just making sure that you don't show the corners, or you could really go wild and show the corners. Why not? In fact, I think we might for this one. I think we might go wild and show off these little black corners. So let's do that. I'm going to stick this in place. Again, putting some multi-purpose adhesive on there, making my little flashes of black so that they are level on each corner. And then we want a nice sentiment to go on the top. So I have pre-cut a piece of black card using the long and fat banner from the Stylish Shapes. So the longest and the fattest of the 4 banners in the Stylish Shapes. I've used that one to cut this piece of black card. And then I'm going to take my paper snips. I'm going to trim off this end piece so that it sits flat against here like that. And then we're going to put ourselves a bit of a sentiment on there. So this time I am going to bring in my embossing buddy, because rather than using clear embossing this time, we're going to use some gold So let's find our Versamark again. Here it is. And let's ink up this congratulations. And stamp that onto our banner. Let's bring in, this time I've got my gold already in a pot. Bring in our gold embossing powder on there. And let's heat that up. And here it comes, popping out in the background. It's a nice twirly script, isn't it? We're going to bring this onto here in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to bring in some of the gold ribbon and some black twine. Let's lay those up together. And let's make ourselves a bow from the two together, which was obviously much easier when I wasn't doing it live. But there we go. Hopefully that is in there. Yes, perfect. Let's give them a bit of a tweak. And a bit of a pull. A bit of a trim. Zip. Right, I'm going to bring in some blue dots and some dimensionals. Put a glue dot on there. On the top of my bows. I'm going to tuck that underneath that sentiment piece. And then let's take some dimensionals. Let's tuck one in down there. And then we'll add that in down there. Now we have a nice congratulations. For some embellishments, I've grabbed these sparkly adhesive gems. Really lovely, aren't they? They come in sort of this silvery and the black and the gold, but I'm going to choose some black ones. I'm going to have a big one and a small one up there. We'll come in with a big one down here. Bring those to one side. We're obviously going to need an insert for this card because unless you've got a white pen or a silver pen that you want to write with, you're very definitely going to need an insert. And anyway, we don't want naked insides of cards. Let's just bring in our roses again. Which way should we go? That way, I think. And we'll just add some roses to the corner of that piece of white card. And we'll add that inside. Just like that. So there we have black and gold black ice technique using the stippled roses. And obviously you can choose lots and lots of different stamp sets that you can use rather than the roses to get this black ice effect, and use different coloured foils. Yeah, just really enjoy it. That's not a technique you've had before. Do really enjoy playing with it. And I hope that you have enjoyed this card. It's been lovely to join you, and Ruby the dog has come to join us as well, so it is lovely for us to be joining you. So do go on and hop around and see all of the other gorgeous black and gold projects that everybody has for you, and do leave comments and do reach out if we can help in any way at all. So thank you for joining me, and see you again very soon.